Welcome to Briefly Orbiting, a podcast about what happens when normal people come in contact with the world's biggest celebrities. I'm your host, Matt Courtois. According to the internet, 60,000 people attended the Sunday night show at Coachella in 2006. I'm sure that there were people at the main stage for Yeah Yeah Yeahs or over at the outdoor stage for Mogwai, but it felt like all 60,000 people were trying to cram their way into the Sahara tent, a structure designed to hold an estimated 10,000 people. You would have thought we learned our lesson the night before for the Daft Punk set, which saw about 40,000 people trying to cram their way in, but we didn't. My friend Elliot and I are stuck in the back. Pop star Madonna is running late, and the crowd is getting restless. I'm not really aware of it at the time, but Elliot and I are witnessing a pop culture shift in real time. The presence of Daft Punk and Madonna at the dance tent is elevating dance and EDM to the next level, setting the bar for what future festivals can look like beyond rock, beyond pop, and beyond hip-hop. There's no chance we're ever going to be able to see her from the back, I say. We try sneaking through the crowd, saying, "Excuse me," or "That's my friend over there." But we're only met with dirty looks and stiff arms. "I have an idea," Elliot says, and proceeds to present one of the greatest life hacks I've ever heard. "When the music starts, just start dancing," he says. "No one will stop us if we're just dancing." So when the ABBA sample kicks in for her 2000 hit Hung Up, we throw our hands in the air and we just start going nuts, inching forward through the crowd. And, just as Elliot predicted, the sea of people part for us. The further in we get, the more amped our dancing gets, and the more the throngs just usher us through. By the time she gets to the last song of her 6-song set, we're about 4 rows back from the stage, and the vibes are electric. "It's too hot to wear clothes," she says, and then she wiggles out of her pants. A stagehand emerges to awkwardly help peel the legs over her boots, revealing a bodysuit underneath. People are screaming and removing their clothes, whipping them overhead. Her keyboardist magically conjures a feather boa and passes it to the pop star, and she launches into her closer, Everybody. At one point, she uses the boa to floss between her legs, and I think for a second that the crowd is going to explode. If she throws that into the crowd, people will riot, I think. But she doesn't. This might be her first time at a festival, but it's not her first rodeo. She takes the feather boa and walks to the back of the stage, and the screens magically close around her and her backup dancers as the DJ continues to play. Some people stay in the tent for the next EDM act, while others start to wander towards the main stage for the Tool set. "I can't believe the dancing worked," I tell Elliot. "Yeah, man, we'll never get that close to Madonna again," he says. Turns out, that wasn't 100% true. Picture it. New York City, October 3rd, 2009. They say you can't win if you don't play. But I won the lottery on my very first try. Every August, you can send your contact info to a generic email address and enter for a chance to go to a Saturday Night Live taping. If you're selected, you don't get to choose the date. They tell you the date, and you're either in or you're out. And if you're in, you have a few weeks to plan for it. Before I plan, though, I have to play some damage control on a couple of fronts. First off, October 3rd is my wife's birthday. "I don't know, it's my birthday, but it sounds more like a you thing," she says. And she's not wrong. Although she does enjoy Saturday Night Live, she's definitely not as obsessed as I am. But I convince her that we can turn it into a fun weekend getaway in the city, and who doesn't love New York in the fall? She's in. But it's also my friend Jenny's wedding day, and we've RSVP'd to attend. "Look, you have to tell Jenny," my wife says. "I bet she'll understand," I say, and I plan to break the news the next day at work. Turns out she's a little upset that we're backing out, but she comes around with one simple question. "Who's the host?" she asks. "Ryan Reynolds and Lady Gaga," I reply. "I'd skip my wedding to see Ryan Reynolds," she responds. When the day finally arrives, I could barely contain my excitement. I've dreamed about seeing SNL in person my entire life, and tonight was the night. We flew up that morning. We took the city by storm, hitting a few bars and restaurants before lining up at the scheduled time. And there are people everywhere, most of whom are standby, just hoping that someone doesn't show up so they can get in the door. This is Lady Gaga's SNL debut, and the little monsters are out in force. Even the folks that are in will call, with the guaranteed seats, got there hours before to get some of the prime seating. We're the last ones to line up, I say. What a rookie move. We get checked in, and the NBC pages escort us upstairs to the studio. As we're going down the hall, we have to hang tight against the wall as a few VIPs, including actress Lake Bell, come through. Then we're ushered into Studio 8H. It's really hard to describe the euphoria I felt going in. I had a similar feeling once at Sun Studios in Memphis too. It's an unassuming space, smaller than you think it's going to be. But the sense of comedy history washes over me, thinking of all the iconic moments that have happened in that very room. It's magical and overwhelming. The pages direct us to the upper bleachers, and because we're one of the last in line, we're directed to the edge of the side stage seats. The pages are all clapping with the band to amp up the crowd. Fred Armisen comes out with a guitar and plays a punk song before the announcer welcomes Jason Sudeikis to the stage. "Hey guys, I just want to go over a few house rules before we get started," he says. You'll notice that there are screens positioned around the room. It shows you what the people at home see. You'll want to watch those for the digital shorts or the commercials, or if you're not able to see some of the sketches on the side stages. But I like to say that there is no bad seat in the house. And then he wheels around and points directly at us. Except for you guys. Terrible seats. You should have just stayed in your hotel and watched it because you're not going to see a thing, he says. I couldn't tell you what he said after that, because within seconds, a group of NBC pages descend on me and my wife. "He's just kidding," one says. "These seats are fine." Another one leans in to make sure that no one overhears. "In fact," he says, "there's a special guest popping in tonight, and they're going to come out right here beside you." At 11:30, the show kicks off with Ryan Reynolds' monologue, and the rest of the night is a blur. Sudeikis was right. The seats weren't great, but it doesn't matter. I wasn't even really watching the show. I was watching the ballet of moving pieces happening just off screen. The writers walking out to see how their pieces play with the crowd, sets and props flying in and out of the wings, people whisking the cast off to do a quick costume change and makeup. The only thing I remember vividly is the digital short, which was the debut of Threw It on the Ground, a Mount Rushmore Lonely Island sketch. In fact, if you gave me $1 million to name 5 of the sketches that night, 20 minutes after the show was over, I really don't think I could do it. Right after the short, Reynolds and Armisen do a sketch called Mike's Fountainry, when Ryan's then wife, Scarlett Johansson, walks on for a cameo. "Is that the surprise guest?" my wife asks. "I don't think so," I whisper. "She came out of the other side of the stage." We don't have to wait much longer to figure out who the mystery is, because the very next sketch is Deep House Dish, a talk show sketch about dance music, featuring Kenan Thompson as DJ Dynasty Handbag and Andy Samberg as his house music Ed McMahon T-Shane. As the segment is kicking off, I notice movement in my periphery. I just turn slightly to my right, and I see a Wrangler in black, escorting someone next to our seats to wait for their entrance. I elbow my wife, and I point my head in the direction of the Wrangler. "Holy crap," she says. "Is that Madonna?" It is. It's the Queen of Pop, and she's inches from our seats. From our vantage point, we're the only people in the crowd that can see her as she waits in the darkness. But here's what it sounds like when the rest of the studio finds out that she's here.
Lady Gaga and Madonna!
When the segment is over, she's once again whisked into the wings and back to her dressing room, passing right by us again. The people around us got wise and they're craning to get a look, but my wife and I have front row seats. As she returns into the darkness backstage, I see the NBC page that tipped us off, and he gives me a little head nod. For her SNL debut, Gaga performed her smash single Paparazzi, and then later she returned to do a medley of hits from her The Fame album, Bad Romance, Love Game, and Poker Face, all while wearing this elaborate outfit called the Orbit, a series of freely moving metal rings that spin around her, anchored to a corset. Freely moving, that is, until she sits at the piano, and the metal slats create this awkward cage around her, separating her from the camera and the audience, creating a shimmering chrome divide that obscures her face but puts greater emphasis on her lyrics and voice. After the goodbyes that night, we're all escorted out into the New York night. And everyone's on a high, and everyone's talking about Gaga. The songs, the outfits, the theatrics of it all. And what we felt in the room is only magnified in the reception at home. Her appearance on SNL propels her to the next level of fame. If she wasn't a household name before, she will be soon. And after the adrenaline high of SNL wears off, it occurs to me that Madonna's cameo was not an accident. It was a baton passed to the next generation of pop star. That night it was Gaga. Before her it was Britney and Christina. There's a cynical way to look at it for sure, but it doesn't feel that craven to me. As the queen of pop, knighting is part of your royal duties, lending your cosign to artists and music movements, just like she did in that dance tent in Coachella. In 2026, 20 years after Elliot and I danced our way into the Sahara tent, Madonna returned to Indio, California, this time to pass the torch to pop star Sabrina Carpenter. Symbolically, Madonna wore the same boots from her 2006 gig, the one that the stagehand had to wriggle her pants over. The ones that many people have tried to fill, but precious few have come close. Briefly Orbiting is written, produced, edited, and hosted by me, Matt Courtois. Briefly Orbiting is recorded in beautiful Marietta, Georgia, the small town with the biggest heart. Follow Briefly Orbiting on Instagram, YouTube, Substack, and Letterboxd at Briefly Orbiting. Do you have a good celebrity story that you think might make a good episode? Email me at brieflyorbiting@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and remember, the world is a better place when you just let people be who they want to be.